In 2005, I put them in the back of my book, Men in Black, book on the Supreme Court. We're going to go over some of those men and why they're so troubled and why so much of what President Obama and the Democrats on the left say is nonsense about how they treat people who they disagree with. Black, Hispanic, women. They don't play by Marcus and Queensberry rules. These aren't fair debates. Again, look what takes place with the Senate Democrats and the judiciary trying to destroy the guy, Kavanaugh. You can raise legitimate questions. I had some legitimate questions, which never got, asked, but that's okay. Trying to destroy the guy? Cory Booker. Demanding the release of these confidential memos, which he already got approval to release, and one of them, he says, is on racial profiling. What do we find out? Racial profiling, by that, let's be blunt, they meant Arab Muslims, because it was the day after or the week after 9/11. And there was some discussion about profiling. And Kavanaugh came down on the side against it. Clearly, Cory Booker hadn't read the memo. Somebody told us about racial profiling. So that went on forever. That's how that treats people. Let me play one last one for you. Again, Obama at the University of Illinois. It shouldn't be partisanship to say we don't pressure the Attorney General to punish political opponents. But listen to it all the way to the end. Cut 8, go.
It should not be Democratic or Republican. It should not be a partisan issue to say that we do not pressure the Attorney General or the FBI to use the criminal justice system as a cudgel to punish our political opponents. Or to explicitly call on the Attorney General to protect members of our own party from
Yeah,
persecution.
is that why Dinesh D'Souza did 20 minutes in federal prison?
20
For
what?
minor campaign violation? He did 20 months, I should say. 20 months in a federal prison? For minor campaign violation? Where nobody lands on that. Is that what I understand? Anyway, go ahead.
Sure. Because an election happens to be coming up. I'm not making that up. It's not hypothetical. It shouldn't be Democratic or Republican to say that we don't threaten the freedom of the press because they say stories we don't like. I complain plenty about Fox News. But you never heard me threaten to shut them down.
All right, that's where we're going to stop. I did research on this. I've got so many articles on what Obama did in attacking the free press. I can barely keep track of them. So let me enter a few of them into the record here. Paul Bedard, a tremendous reporter over at the Washington Examiner today. Flashback, Obama prosecuted staff leakers, gave lie detector tests. Paranoid. Should President Trump need a bomb to use to track down leakers inside his ministry? What is that thing? Stay with me. Like the anonymous insider who challenged his authority in the New York Times op-ed, he need go no further than the Obama administration that prosecuted leakers and shut out the media. According to reports at the time from even the New York Times, and that is New York Times journalists, no administration was tougher on leakers and punishing to the media than Obama's. A saga reinforced by reporters who have called Trump's team more forthcoming. Criticism of Obama's attacks on the media and leakers did not just come in tweets and TV appearances by journalists, but in an official report from the Committee to Protect Journalists, authored by former Washington Post executive editor Leonard Downey Jr. Quote, "This is the most closed, control-freak administration I've ever covered," said David Sanger, veteran chief Washington correspondent of the New York Times in the report. USA Today said in the report, it portrays an administration gripped by strict policies about information flow and paranoid about leaks across all executive branch departments. It detailed prosecutions and even the use of lie detectors on staffers. Some have encouraged Trump to use lie detector tests on his staff, something is so far ignored. While Trump has ripped leakers and the anonymous Times writer of being cowards and traitors, it was Obama who took the war to a higher level by targeting staff and reporters while also cutting out the media to promote its story via social media. The administration's war on leaks, I quote, and other efforts to control information are the most aggressive I've seen since the Nixon administration, when I was one of the editors involved in the Washington Post investigation of Watergate. The 30 experienced Washington journalists at a variety of news organizations whom I've interviewed for this report could not remember any precedent, wrote Downey in the report that was criticized by Obama officials. In fact, the campaign was so aggressive, it even had a name, said the report. Quote, the Insider Threat Program, unquote. Said the 2013 report, again I quote, the Insider Threat Program being implemented through the Obama administration to stop leaks, first detailed by the McClatchy newspaper's Washington Bureau in late June, has already created internal surveillance, heightened a degree of paranoia in the government, and made people conscious of contacts with the public, advocates, and the press, said a prominent transparency advocate, Stephen Aftergood, director of the Government Secrecy Project at the Federation of American Scientists in Washington, which is a hardcore left-wing group. Employees at some 16 intelligence agencies face questions about leaking during lie detector tests. And the new Inspector General for the intelligence community, with jurisdiction over all its agencies, would investigate leak cases that had not produced prosecutions by the Department of Justice to determine what alternative action should be taken, added the report. Pretty damn aggressive, don't you think? Pretty damn aggressive, but there was more than that. A lot more than that. James Risen, December 30, 2016, a New York Times reporter, wrote an opinion piece. He wrote an opinion piece in the Sunday Review, New York Times. Big deal for the left. If Donald Trump decides as president to throw a whistleblower in jail for trying to talk to a reporter, or gets the FBI to spy on a journalist, we'll have one man to thank for bequeathing him such expansive power: Barack Obama. This is the left. Mr. Trump made his animus toward the news media clear during the presidential campaign, and it goes on. Criticism of Obama's stance on press freedom, government transparency and secrecy is hotly disputed by the White House, but many journalism groups say the record is clear. Over the past 8 years, meaning Obama, the administration has prosecuted 9 cases involving whistleblowers and leakers, compared with only 3 by all previous administrations combined. It has repeatedly used the Espionage Act, a relic of World War I-era red baiting, he writes, not to prosecute spies, but to go after government officials who talk to journalists. Under Obama, the Justice Department and FBI have spied on reporters by monitoring their phone records, labeled one journalist an unindicted co-conspirator, and that would be, I believe, James Rosen of Fox, who he just laughed off Obama. Look, I criticize him, but I never did anything. An unindicted co-conspirator in a criminal case for simply doing reporting, and issued subpoenas to other reporters to try and force them to reveal their sources and testify in criminal cases. Can you imagine if Trump did any of this? I experienced this pressure firsthand, writes the New York Times reporter, when the administration tried to compel me to testify to reveal my confidential sources in a criminal leak investigation. The Justice Department had finally relented, even though it has already won a 7-year court battle that went all the way to the Supreme Court to force me to testify, most likely because they feared the negative publicity that would come from sending a New York Times reporter to prison. In an interview last May, Obama pushed back on the criticism that his administration had been engaged in a war on the press. He argued that the number of leak prosecutions his administration has brought had been small, and that some of those cases were inherited from the George W. Bush administration. But critics say the crackdown has had a much greater chilling effect on press freedom than Obama acknowledges. In a scathing 2013 report, and I just read it to you, parts of it, the Committee to Protect Journalists lays it out. When Mr. Obama was elected in 2000,